This is Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next. I'm Chris Bentliff, and I'm here today with a client story from Tom White. And Tom is kind of a do many things, but he's a partner and an owner at Unisan Group. And Unisan Group is a specialist commercial interior renovation firm, which sounds really interesting to me, particularly as the world has developed in the last 18 months to 2 years or so. Tom, welcome. I want to just start by getting to know you. How long have you been with and doing what you've been doing at Unisan Group? How long has Unisan Group been active in this kind of renovation, commercial renovation space?
So Unisan Group has been active for about 6 to 7 years in the commercial interior renovations. I have been with them for that time as a partner, and most of my role on a day-to-day basis is in business development and sales.
How have you seen the importance of the workspace, the environment, which I feel like has really gotten new attention in maybe the last 5 years, where folks have really thought, the culture is kind of represented by the environment that our folks are in. Do you agree with that? How have you seen things change in the time since you started 7 years ago to kind of now when it comes to creating space for work?
A lot. Like you say, there's been a lot of change, and obviously currently in the last 18 months, even greater focus on that. A lot of change going on for everybody, no doubt. Particularly more recently in the space in general, as far as things like restrooms, break rooms, that kind of thing. A lot of attention on that, as far as the way they're laid out and the cleanliness, what you touch, that kind of thing is obviously in high priority currently.
So share with me a little bit about kind of Unisan Group's role or responsibility in this. When a client or project comes to you, do you consult and listen to their ideas and needs and then design something and then iterate on that? Or how does it start from a germ of an idea all the way through to opening the new doors of a renovated space?
Yeah, so that's exactly how it works. It starts off with the idea, or maybe even starts as the dream of the prospect or customer and what they would really like to see. We kind of get into that initial conversation with them, and a lot of questions are asked. We're doing a deep dive into what they really want and what they need, which is obviously, as I say, changing a lot currently. But then we also bring, coming from the other division of our business, which is in cleaning and restroom supplies, we're bringing to the renovation space a slightly different mindset of, we understand it from a cleaning standpoint. We don't just look at it from ease of construction or design. Obviously that is all part of it, but we are also looking at it from the standpoint of how easy is this going to be to maintain long term, this particular flooring material. It might look great right now when it's first installed, but how is that going to hold up over time? What is the maintenance procedure going to be? And is that going to be detrimental to what the customer or prospect really wants long term?
Interesting. Has that been an area of education? So when you're kind of consulting with a client, do you get a lot of, we hadn't thought of that, or we're really glad that you're thinking of that? It's kind of got a new focus in the last 18 months or so.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's been it's been huge that, having that kind of other set of eyes to it, if you like, from what you might be accustomed to, like most people would be used to in doing a project. It brings that, like, exactly as you say, I'd never thought of that. Typically when people are going into a renovation project, you're thinking about, materials, colors, what's it going to look like and that kind of thing. And we just introduced that next piece that helps them maybe balance, maybe something, for example, doesn't want to be white because that's going to look unclean very quickly, just as an example.
Is that an innovation that that you folks have kind of designed or iterated or taken to a new level as a response to kind of the new normal, if we're going to use that old characteristic?
Yeah, it's just something that we really have used basically because of the expertise that we have. We've been able to leverage that to educate, inform ahead of the curve, rather than just, hey, this is nice and fancy. Yes, we'll install that for you. Let's bring that mindset, that thought process that really, is innovative in a lot of ways to this industry.
What a great illustration of using what makes you unique and amplifying it, extending it with a new sort of, or at least a renewed focus on the value proposition that you're delivering to clients. I imagine that's a competitive differentiator and advantage for you. I imagine it's a value add for your prospects and clients when you can start talking about this part of it that they maybe hadn't thought of. It probably positions you as kind of that, that trusted advisor that we're always looking for when we're trying to buy something, or especially when we're going through a design process where there's so many unknowns and we're putting so much trust in somebody else to sort of see our vision or make it better. Have you found a new way as the person who's so engaged with sales to sort of connect that part of things? Has that become a larger part of your conversation, and the reception to it has driven new sort of business mindsets behind it?
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Because as you just touched on, the kind of one of the biggest things, especially in spending capital money and doing project work, you are obviously tearing into somebody's building or lease space, whatever it might be. Trust is a big factor. So what that's helped us to do is show that trust, convey that the customer can have, knowing that, hey, they've been there, done this. They're not just trying to complete a project and go on to the next. They're here for the long haul.
Which is, trust is at the heart of every business relationship, but as you're pointing out, really intimately involved in something where, as you point out, capital expense, an environment, a culture connected to our people, even part of maybe the hiring process, clients showcasing all the things that go into having a space around you. And trust might be kind of an interesting segue into your relationship with ProCFO Partners. What made you, I know that you've worked with Hale Fardy, and she's a managing partner and co-founder over at ProCFO Partners, very intelligent, smart, capable person. What has your relationship with her been like, and what made you reach out or consider kind of the part-time or fractional CFO role as opposed to, something more permanent?
Actually, a lot of what we've just spoken about when we first met with her, really her deep dive into our business, then how everything was related back to experiences that she had in similar businesses. And she really, again, showed that, we put our trust in her because she could always anything that we discussed, she always had a similar experience that she could recount to us and how she resolved that issue, which it gave us that trust in her.
Did that exceed your expectations? Or a lot of folks, engage a CFO with kind of a more linear sort of, we need somebody to help us with reporting or to help us manage these aspects. I've found that Halle and ProCFO Partners really broadened that sort of perspective. Was that your experience as well?
Absolutely. It was 100%. It was like she wanted to be part of the company, and she became part of the company. Really, it was like she was on the staff. She just got so involved, and she was so passionate and energetic about what we were doing. It was awesome.
And did you find some result from that? Were you able to move forward with some aspect of the business, or move forward with more confidence, or have a better understanding that positioned you to do more things? Or what was some of the sort of, in your mind, tangible outcomes of that relationship?
Yeah, it definitely did. The biggest thing that she started to implement for us was the proper the dividing of the two. Initially, the distribution and the construction was kind of one and the same business, and she helped us to see that we needed to actually split those out as two separate divisions, that was completely separate, but still the one complemented the other, if you see what I mean. I
do see what you mean. So that's almost a strategic shift. And I don't know, did that take some getting used to, or was it right away kind of like, oh, wow, this is new, this is interesting, and we've got a lot of potential with this idea?
It did. It was not immediate. It's taken time, and would say we're still getting used to it in some ways, but it was so eye-opening once we could see clearly what the renovations division was doing and what the distribution side was doing. It just gave us so much clarity in that. To then come in with what we were saying earlier as to the value coming from the distribution side, how it brought so much value to the renovation side.
I mean, that's tremendous. What more could you want from a business relationship like that than forward progress that kind of helps you do more or do differently in productive ways with your business? So what do you think? Let's look at the next 5 or 10 years. We've had this weird COVID thing, which has driven some changes into environments, and how you've responded has been just on point. But what do you think is the future of the workspace? What do you think is next or most important for organizations to start keeping in mind about the emerging workforce, the Generation Z coming in, the things that need to be kept in mind as we create our best workspaces from here on out?
Yeah, it's a very big topic, and there's a lot of information and opinions and so on and so forth around that currently, obviously. But I think in general terms, more space as opposed to less is what we're seeing, actually, as in an office area. Trying to
spaciousness. Interesting.
Correct. And then we feel that there is that part that probably never going to go away, really, as to the actual, people's perception of cleanliness, and how a space is looked after. The focus on bathrooms right now is incredible, because everybody is so much more aware from what happened with COVID. It's definitely going to it's good change for the better.
I agree. And it will be interesting as the workforce en masse returns, hopefully sooner than later, how those things will continue to develop, the kitchen areas or the dining areas and the bathroom areas and those community areas and the new focus. I love what you're saying about spaciousness. We all kind of maybe have learned we need some space, we need some room around us, but this attention to the details is increasingly important. Tom White at Unisan Group. They are at unisangroup.com, UNISAN group.com. Tom, it's been so nice to talk to you. You've been so generous with your time and with sharing a little bit about your experiences. Wishing you all the best and looking forward to the future when we're all back at work.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.